So this fall, I got a suspicion that a lot of what we thought we knew about music promotion might be wrong. Since I heard a lot of people saying assumptions where I know there hasn't been a study out in years on what they're talking about, or since these apps have changed in big ways since they're changing fast, like how Reels caught up to TikTok with being an effective algorithm to promote music. And most of the studies all took place before that happened. So I got to thinking and kept realizing a feeling I have all the time, which is that I think the people around me talking online are full of shit and basing their beliefs on false information or things that they're just making up and yapping for attention about. Who would have guessed it on the internet? So I did what I do and thought to myself, how can I get ahead of the curve if no one else is doing studies on music? And then it hit me. I have money, I have an audience, I'll get people to take a music listening survey and we'll see how they respond and then we'll learn the right answers. So I did just that, and I even sent a $20 Amazon gift card to 1 out of every 50 people who took it, so we got nearly 3,000 responses. So this is now one of the biggest surveys of music listeners in years, and I want to show you what you should learn so you don't mess up your music promotions, since I gotta tell you, a lot of this shocked me, and we're getting a lot of things wrong here. So let's do this. So first off, 52% of respondents are a musician, and a lot of you found this concerning since you didn't want to market to musicians. But the funny thing was, when I excluded the data to take out musicians, well, it didn't really change more than a percentage or 3 of points. So anything we'd be advising here, the data set would remain the same whether musicians are in it or not in it, because I looked around and I really couldn't find anything that they really differed in habits with, because musicians are music listeners. But since we're getting into that, the main factors that changed the data significantly was when we took out a certain age groups, since you'll be shocked here, we saw much bigger internet addiction and show attendance as you went to younger demographics. As well, depending on the genre they listen to, that could greatly change the data, since that's cultures and cultures behave differently. I found it particularly interesting that the people who listen to music that's less reliant on technology, like folk music and Americana, use technology far less, which kind of makes sense. But now let's get to some of the more important takeaways for musicians to know. So this graph was really interesting. What I took away from this is that most people are watching Reels more than TikToks, which explains why a lot of us see better numbers on Instagram. But that 58% of respondents used all 3 apps in a given week, and that's important data. This tells me that if you are posting your videos to Reels, TikToks, and Shorts each week, that you should really be staggering them, since it's less likely people will see them if they're staggered and not posted on the same day. And even if they do see them, they sometimes won't recognize them, since, let's be honest, some of these people are watching for hours a day and forget what they're seeing. But also, since the vast majority of people watch all 3 short form apps, I think it's important to post your short form videos to all 3 platforms to get as many opportunities to get your earworm in a listener's head. I then asked people to check every genre they listen to so that we can parse the data specifically to how certain genres of fans behave. And next you can see we got a pretty even age distribution across the decades. And for the 4 years of teens we polled, we even did good there. And in the future, when I do consultations, I'm going to parse this data down to age groups, artists want to target, and the listeners of certain genres of music to see how they can direct their marketing more effectively. I also will be doing this in the questions of my member feed. Oh yeah, and speaking of that membership feed, for just $5 a month, you get access to the entire back catalog of over 70 videos I've made on the latest music marketing techniques and what I'm experimenting with, along with dissections of artists who've gone from no fans to viral across nearly every genre of music, as well as advanced lessons on things like how to position yourself against other musicians to stand out. I answer your questions every week, and every month I listen to all my members' music that's submitted, so hit the description for just $5 a month, get over 6 hours of videos every single month. Okay, but back to the fun stuff. One of the things that made me feel good is my results were not that far off from this Pew poll about young people's habits with what apps they use, with the top apps being YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and then Reddit. Now, Reddit is very far away from Pew's numbers, but I imagine that this audience is a bit nerdier because, well, they took a survey, and Pew only served those who are 13 to 17 years old, which is not really Reddit's demographic. And that's why Snapchat rises up when I look at the data set I took and basically dies when you get over 40 years of age. And that also explains why it's so high on Pew's list. And I think we kind of could have guessed all of that. Now, the next question we asked was whether you watch stories on an app each week. And what really shocked me here is that so many people watch Facebook stories, almost as many people as TikTok stories, which tells me since Instagram allows you to auto post to Facebook, that's something you should be setting up immediately since it's a no effort way to probably get more views. But next we asked about if you comment on different social media posts. And the thing to really take away from this data is that most people do not comment. And that's a common thing, and you shouldn't feel bad when you're not getting as many comments as followers. But all of the available ways to comment scored high, aside from the short form text apps like X, Blue Sky, and Twitter, where lurking is often a given. And let's be honest, the comments on those apps are frankly often what I call thinking for people who don't think. Anyway, this was one of the most interesting data points, where we asked where do you discover new music? And while Spotify and YouTube dominated, which is not shocking, the number of people who get recommendations from Instagram grid posts and X, Blue Sky, or Threads was pleasantly surprising, since a lot of people see grid posts as for announcements only, and avoid the short form text apps for anything but announcements. But this tells me making sure to attach one of your songs to your grid posts, as well as making sure to clip your videos for the short form text app posts, is crucial, and you should be doing that all the time. Next, I asked how much you all scroll the apps, and I mostly did this to feel better about my own habits. But really, we know this. People watch a lot, and they often underestimate how much they scroll. I mean, just ask your friends how much they scroll, and then ask to see their watch time, and you'll get some phones that will not come out. But let's get to one of the most interesting questions you can use for music promotion here. We asked, how do you discover new artists? And the top two answers were friends online and friends in person. Now, one of the things we've been talking about a lot in this channel is that I recently made a video dissecting the most viral artists of 2024, and there's a link to that in the description. And one of the things I find is the most viral artists give a quick way in their profile for the listener to understand who they are, and then be able to tell a friend about who the artist is. Since word of mouth is still the biggest way people discover artists, this is important, since if a new fan of yours is trying to tell a friend about who you are, and they're trying to get that friend to be excited enough to listen to you so they can bond, and the friend asks, what are they like? And the only reply is, they rock because you didn't tell them how to see you and what to think of you, well, it may not be compelling enough to get that friend to listen. But if you just figure out how to sum up who you are in a unique way in a quick and snappy answer, well, you can change that. And you can see some great examples of this on the screen now. But some of the lower down methods of discovery may surprise you, since in third place was collaborating with another artist. And literally what they mean is when there's two artists on a track and they like the track, they check out the other artist. And I've been telling you all this for years. I literally have been making videos about it for so long, and yet so many of you seem to doubt me when we talk about it. But I've seen this in the data for years, that this is one of the most important ways and one of the things that labels most value when they do their budgets. And we see this even when you collaborate with smaller artists that don't have a lot of monthly listeners. Since if you just make a good track with someone else who's really talented, oftentimes they'll investigate you both and grow a relationship with both artists. And when one of you gets bigger, well, you bring the other one up with you. Anyway, the next method was the YouTube browse page, which I've been also trying to tell you all is now surfacing artists with only like 2,000 plays and almost no subscriptions to so many of us each day on our browse page, because YouTube knows what we probably will like. If you have a good looking thumbnail and are getting plays, this can be used since clearly the audience is there. If you want to learn more about this, it's a great reason to hit subscribe and turn on notifications of this channel, since I have a video on how to get views on YouTube in 2025 that's about to come out, and you really don't want to miss it because it's got some great new stuff in it. We then asked the survey takers if they read a blog or website to get music recommendations, and the majority of people do occasionally, but not by much. This tells me that those blogs and websites are still worth your time to try to get reviews, articles, or interviews done, but paying for a publicist when you're on a limited budget seems silly, since it's not a good conversion rate to have this be a thing that most people are not that interested in. Next, another shocker was that 25 to 33% of the audience does click on ads on different platforms, which I will admit, as the king of hating ads in this space, I thought would be much lower, with Instagram and YouTube being the most common ones people click, and TikTok and Facebook falling behind the rest, and really the rest all performed pretty badly. Now, next year I may phrase that question with a more limited time frame to understand how regularly this habit occurs, but I will say the ad hater right here can admit to being a little shocked. Now this next question revealed a lot. What makes you go out of your way to investigate new artists? And the number one answer was their song snippet on social media was good and had to check it out. That came in at 54%, which says a lot about how powerful promoting yourself with Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts are. But meeting and seeing the artist in person came up really high, as did featuring on a song, which I was just telling you about. And I really don't think you should underestimate how much personal interactions or doing your community work and doing things with other artists really helps you get discovered, because we see it right here in the data. Next, we asked about how you listen to Spotify, and the majority say that they don't use Spotify playlists that Spotify curates at all. But right after that was people who use the algorithmic playlists, which were the overall majority popular thing, which is those daily mixes, Discover Weekly, and Release Radar. And of course, that stupid AI DJ was lower down. But tied with editorial playlists was artist playlists. So I'm pushing you all to make those artist playlists all the time. I want to reiterate again what a huge opportunity you have to make playlists of smaller artists to get algorithmic ties to them that will help you get bonded in those algorithmic playlists that are much more popular. This is something you can do that's proactive, and I have a video coming out about this literally next week. Now, another thing I think people really get wrong is that flyers and stickers in the real world are dead. We asked, do you notice stickers and flyers in your local city where you go to shows? And the answer overwhelmingly was yes, with sometimes helping it bring it up very high in the percentage point. And I truly believe flyers and stickers in your local area help make you feel like somebody people should know and really help convert people over to checking you out. And right now, they are so underutilized in so many cities because everybody is so fixated on online promotion because it's so much easier, especially since 54% answered yes to have you ever checked out an artist because you saw stickers or flyers. Another notable misconception that a lot of people I've talked to have is that they think nobody watches bands or artists they haven't listened to when they go to see them live. But over 60% of people say they do that at least once, if not more, a month. And an overwhelming majority of people buy merch at a show, with a quarter of them buying 75 to 100% of the time. I'm one of those people, so that was not shocking. But a shocker for me is the number one reason people buy merch is the design is cool. Not that they like the artist, feel a connection to them, or want to support them. And while those answers were high and are very common, they did not beat that the design is cool. This tells me what I did already know from experience, which is that good designs convert people over to walking advertisements for you. So taking the time to research and develop good merch designs, and not just something that you shout out in 5 seconds on Canva, can help make you money and get people who barely care about your music to wear a shirt and think about you more. So there were some other interesting answers, but this video is getting long. And if you want to see more about what I saw here, head over to musicmarketingtrends.com, where I break down all the answers in my newsletter, which you can subscribe to for free. And I'm going to keep the survey open and still collecting data to collect more. So if you're watching this and wish you took it, well, go take it. It's linked in the description. But here's the thing. While you just learned all this, if you really want to grow your fan base, you need to understand what the most viral artists of 2024 did to break through, which is on this video that's on the screen right now or linked in the description. So make sure you watch that next if you really want to level up. Thanks for watching.